Hello there. Welcome to the 27th day of August 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video, a live exercise that I do every day at 5:30 a.m. For my balcony here in Japan to go over the last 24 hours. I do this as a means of self-improvement, to reflect on my day and the past day, and to see how I did relative to my values, those values which are documented in my book, Going Alone, which you can find at goingalone.org. You can read it for free there. In particular, the chapter titled The Good Life. That's where I have the codified creed. All right, before I start though, I'd like to say hello to new subscribers to the channel. It's good to have you here. To offer a disclaimer that I will probably talk about subjects here that may make some people uncomfortable, like death, namely my own death. Also, a huge thank you to those who watch my videos and those who are my members on YouTube and my supporters on Patreon. I really appreciate your support. With that, let's get started. I'm going to go over the notes from the last 24 hours and comment on them. First, just expect some stumbling a little bit. I'm not well composed today. As much as I might strive to maintain an outward composure, inside I'm a little bit off my heel. And this first note, this only note, captures it. A fear rising. That fear is the after, and I kind of knew it was coming. Yesterday and the day before were pretty damn good days. The day before especially was a really good day. The day I had to close my online business again, and it felt good to make that decisive move ahead rather than like I did 20 plus years ago, driving a business into the ground, trying to keep it afloat in an environment that was unsustainable. And now I see that that's not possible, and I chose to not even try. So I just stopped the business. And at once that felt good because I feel like I'd made a decision. But and it felt that good feeling lasted for 24 hours, and then it became yesterday. It kind of started to settle into me that I can now what, right? Now you're back exactly where I was about 6 months ago. I'm 8 months retired. The first 2 months of retirement were wonderful. And then about 2 months in, I started to realize that I didn't have anything good to do with my life now. I began to just look around. And I decided to, that I would, if I couldn't occupy my time well, then I would fill my time with a useful endeavor, namely the resurrection of my old antique business, which I spent the last 6 months working very hard to put back in shape. And just like before, when I had my antique business, just when things started to really start to do well, business was really humming. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, I was making daily trips to the post office. My wife had even started to take over the shipping part. It was just like the business that I had before. My wife had taken over the shipping part. I had just taken over the shipping part when the business failed. Or rather, she had done that about 6 months prior. Now, cut to the chase. There's an enormous difference, and I documented that difference today in a very succinct and to the point blog post, which accompanies yesterday's very short video for the Retiring in Japan series. And if you watch that video, it's only like it's less than 5 minutes. I think it's like 3.5 minutes long. You will see a very disjointed, confused man blogging about trying to fulfill his quota of a video that he does every day. It was so bad that I actually, the part of me that is concerned about pride, didn't want to upload the video at all. And unfortunately, that part of being doesn't get much of a say in things anymore. So I went ahead and did it, largely because I wanted to document the place that I'm in. Put a mark in the sand for it. Maybe I should rename these things too. Well, no, I named it right. It's Retiring in Japan. It basically says, the title says exactly what it was. Also, I don't want to use it as kind of an embarrassing and kind of a public proclamation, if anything, to serve as a catalyst to get me to move forward. Now, here's why I wrote down fear rising. Since I started this series, I've been contacted by dozens now of retirees to share their experience. Most of them don't talk to me in a public setting. They don't leave comments. They don't leave messages. They send me email. I get comments on. It's interesting to see that each venue, how it's different. I get private DMs on Facebook, less on Facebook than any place else. The main place that I get it is LinkedIn, of all things. I guess that just shouldn't surprise me, because LinkedIn, the folks that had robust and healthy LinkedIn profiles are often the folks that were, one, socially engaged in social media, and two, very engaged in their careers. A lot of them are, even after their careers, are staying on LinkedIn. Anyway, back to the point. The reason I had the courage to, and I would have done it even without this, to go ahead and release the video today, as embarrassing as it was, is that I know that there's a lot of people out there that are watching what I'm doing from a very similar vantage point. So I want to be very public and upfront about all of this, because if I can thread this needle, and I think I can, and get through the other side, then I will have documented my path. So when I have a really bad day, like I did yesterday, and it's bad in a different sense. I mean, when I would have talked about a bad day in my 20s or 30s, it would have spoken more to the emotional, ebb and flow, deep emotional, great day, wow, bad day. It's not what bad days are like really anymore. Bad days are like where, a ship's captain that feels like he's got a crew of 30, a sailing ship, running the rigging, he oversees the first officer. The mate. And if the mate is competent, the captain, the captain then has little to do but to convey his direction, instructions, and the mate takes over from there. At this point, that's largely how my life feels. I feel like I'm the captain on my own ship, and I've got my first officer, my mate, quite capable due to the instruction book I've given, trained my mate on to run my life. Bad day now, at this point in my life, is when I feel like my first officer isn't quite up to the task, when I can't quite trust them. And that's exactly how it feels right now. I lost my business. I failed at my business yet again. I don't know what to do with myself in retirement. This ample free time that stretches before me every day. It's a good way to put it. Even though I relented a little bit in the last 48 hours, and I said I would be kind of open to hobbies. My suspicion that hobbies aren't for me is rising again. Confirmed by Yumiko yesterday too. She was kind of like, yeah, so you're thinking about the hobby track, huh, Kurt? Good luck with that. So the reason that it's fearful is that I've seen enough, and I've been contacted by enough retired people, and I've read enough anecdotal reports to know that many retired people, especially men, if they fail to find their way into this life, it's a really bad route that they go. They go into, it's like my neighbor around the corner here. Right around the corner there. I've talked about him before. I see him every day. because we do radio exercise together and we walk back together, and I try to engage him and talk. And his life, he's been retired for quite a while now, and his life consists of being holed up in this beat up old house that he lives in right around the corner, and he does nothing. He has connection with just about nobody, and will tell me quite openly in Japanese that life's really bad. And when I try to engage him, small talk, distractions, try to, because of course I'm being a foreigner and being challenged to Japanese, I can only go so far. But whenever I try to do anything to elicit anything more out of him, because like I said, we walk back every day from the exercise together, he's made it very clear to me. I'm happy to have some small talk with you, Kurt, between the place where we do the exercise and the place where my front door is. When I get to my front door, I'm going to make a 45-degree turn to the left. This is him conveying to me. And I'm going into that house. And I'll see you tomorrow. Very, very clear to me. He doesn't want anything to do with my tomfoolery nonsense about trying to be engaged or coming out of his shell. His plan, very clear to me, is to eke out the rest of his days in that little house there, engaged in just a few little things of routine until his time is done. And he's made it very clear to me that life is not good. Now, I've seen that, and I've been told that, several times, especially now that the YouTube algorithm knows that I'm curious about the stories of retired people, and it presents me with videos of retired people telling their stories. No, you don't get people that have gone his path making videos about it. So, but I do see enough people that are striving or have successfully made it the other route, the route that I hope to go. They're on the other side telling me, man, I've been retired. They'll say things like this. I've been retired for like 3 years now. The first year or 2 was really hard. I think I've made it out the other side, but man, they'll kind of like lean in close in the camera. Man, I saw some folks along the way. They didn't make it. It's almost like kind of thing makes me think of like a World War I, coming back from a World War I trench warfare assault, where you get the signal at dawn to go, that all the men are going to go up and over the ramparts, and racing through no man's land with the explosions and the shells and stuff like that, and then you hear the call for retreat, signaling to come back. The assault is over, and you make your way back, and as you're going back, you're seeing dead and wounded of your own compatriots on the ground, bloody, calling for their mothers. And you can't do anything, you've got to go back, right? And you go back and you scramble over this side, and then the men from the other wave, the next wave, are there. And they're, how was it? And it's like, I can't believe I made it, but there's guys out there, it's not good for them. That's the kind of stories that I hear. It's like people, almost everybody I know that's like through this transition phase of retirement on the other side tells stories of men left dead, men and women left dead or wounded in the no man's land, and how that can't be saved, can't be rescued, like my neighbor. I don't think there's any way that he can be rescued. My own father-in-law is like that. I mean, he's going down in he found himself a pretty pleasant foxhole to basically to die in. I mean, I go see him. I see him every day, and the man is the same way, just like this. I mean, fortunately, he's got a brand new, beautiful house with good air conditioning and a nice TV, and he's got his NHK and his newspaper and stuff like that. But he is not going to do anything. He's not going to go outside. He's not going to engage with anybody. You suggest anything, it has nothing to do with it. He can't even hear at this point, any suggestions otherwise. He's burrowed himself into a line, a bee's line between the end of his career and the end of his life. And almost it seems like some of these people, the faster they can get there, the better, because it's miserable. So that's why I'm a little bit afraid, because I haven't made it there. I'm still in that, and I'm early, right? I'm only 8 months in. I'm early, and I'm still in this stage of like, crap. I keep trying stuff, and it doesn't work. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I usually finish this video with explaining my plans. My plan for today is that I'm going to take today's. Here comes the sun, and the days really do seem to stretch on and on when you have nothing to do. And it's not like I have no interests. I do, but hobbies don't sustain me. Interests don't sustain me. I can't pick up my guitar and while away the hours. I can't pick up a book and read my way through the hours. I'm just not built like that. And maybe that's why these men that I'm talking about have closed up the way they have, because they know themselves well enough to know that, these things, me suggesting to my neighbor, hey, let's talk a little bit about that interesting tool, that farm tool that I can see in your garage, which is what I say to him. I say, oh, well, I'll show you. And I tell my neighbor, pointing at this interesting farm tool that he's got. Hey, matashita, I'll see you tomorrow. Turns and goes in. That's there's that guy's in me too. I see you, I see me in that. It's scary. So here, I think I've kind of reached a point where I know now that I can't rely on, and this is gonna sound like I'm trying to pump myself up. I've been unsuccessful in saving myself. Doesn't sound like too strong a word. Saving myself through my business or the attempts that I've made to find a job. I think, and I don't think hobbies are going to do it unless the hobbies arrive piecemeal. It's part and parcel of what I'm doing. I think I know what I need to do. I need to create for myself a contrived and artificial structure and routine throughout the day. And I need to talk to my wife and make it very clear to her that I'm putting myself to work. If my business isn't going to have me at work, if nobody needs me anymore as an employee, like I said, I've applied for jobs, no one seems to need me, then I'm going to create a structured life, and I'm going to abide that structure. Now that's a strength. If there's anything that I do have ample fortitude and strength for, it's resolve, resolution, and the gumption it takes to see a mission through. All I have to look is my book and what it took to do this, and then the books that surround this, that orbit going along like satellites. I can do this. And yeah, I can. And maybe what I needed was to try out those other things. Now, will that do the trick? Will that be the thing that allows me to press through the foliage of this tangled jungle into a meadow in the new light? Or will I fail yet again and at last find myself buried into some sort of abject routine, like my neighbor, like my father-in-law, which they probably wouldn't see it as such. They probably excuse it away as a natural consequence. I think I'm up to this task. I do. And I think I can chronicle it, and I can report it along the way, and I think I can maybe even make a map of sorts. But it's important that I write this stuff down. It's important that the blog post that I did today was a hard one to do. It was a hard one to do. Well, if not for the simple fact that I know, and if Evelyn sees this, she's going to laugh at this point. If not for the simple fact that I'm going to have to bear through reading all the comments from people suggesting hobbies for me to take up. Which is less insufferable than it used to be. I know it's coming. So bring it on. Okay, so let's go over my creed. My creed consists of 8 objectives as follows: to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions relative to my values, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, and to maintain my balance. Okay, let's read now from the book, the atomic principle in the chapter titled The Good Life. I really need to get like a bookmark so I don't have to keep folding through the pages every time. The atomic principle here on, this is principle number 7, page 255 of the hardbound edition. The atomic principle. Sub-principles, dissolution and emergence. So just think about atoms, right? So I'm referring to the atomic nature of everything boils down to the nuts and bolts of, protons, neutrons, electrons, and their, further small bits. Dissolution means falling apart. Emergence means coming together in some sort, the yin and the yang. And here's a quote from Heraclitus. All things change to fire, and fire exhausted falls back into things. Well put, Mr. Heraclitus. The atomic principle. Everything in the universe is bits and pieces, flowing and changing, forever transforming and becoming. So too you and me, here for a bit, soon to pass, soon to dissolve. Never again this thing once more. When remembering this principle, I often pick up a handful of sand and dirt to let sift through my fingers in the blowing sand. If you've watched my videos long enough, you may remember when I used to read that principle in the desert or on the beach in Huntington Beach, and I would lift that sand up and let the sand go down, reminding myself that this constituent body of mine is nothing more than bits and pieces, soon to dissolve and fall away. Since I don't believe I have a soul, everything that I am, my consciousness will wink out. That'll be the end of me, this time forever. All right, let's read some comments and check in on the temperature. It's 20. It's a little bit 22 in. It's about almost closing in on 6 o'clock. It's 22 degrees. Sorry, no, not 22. 25 degrees. 25 degrees and 84% humidity. That's real close to what it was yesterday, I think. Although I checked it a little sooner yesterday. 25 and 85. The day before that, 28 and 82. It was really hot the day before that. 25 and 84, so it's right in the normal range of things. It's going to be another hot one. I have some ideas, but for the engagement of what I was mentioning before, but I need to wait for it to cool down a little bit, I think. Let's read comments. Hello, Marmighty. Good to see you. It's always nice to see your name here. There's Tim. Good morning. Weather check in the UK at 9:35 is 16.3 and 62% humidity. 16.3, pretty nice, and nice humidity, pretty nice. Hopefully rain on the way. Wishing you all the best with that rain. We have had rain on the forecast every day, but none so far. You notice that percentage? It says like rain on the calendar, but like 30%, which means, I looked it up. It means that 30% of the target area will get rain. Clearly, I'm not in that 30% range. Hello, Michael. Hello, Michael Littlejohns. Good to see you. Mom Mighty says, these streams are timed perfectly after finishing work and my evening meal, like clockwork. Thanks for your dedication. Love from the UK. You're very welcome, Marmighty. I do appreciate that. You're a name that I remember from the old days, and it's good to see you back. And it's good to know that you're watching regularly. I appreciate that. For whatever it's worth, you're watching regularly. Hopefully these videos have some interest and value. Aniket Thakur. I've seen your name before, I believe. Good morning, Mr. Kurt. Hello. You can just call me Kurt, please. What a beautiful place. Thank you very much. It is a nice place. Robert. Hi, Robert. Hi, Kurt, Marmighty. Robert saying hi to everybody and chiming in at the Napanee, Ontario. It's 19C and 61%. Nice. 61. Wow, you are in the perfect zone there. Air quality is 14. That's a lot. I don't know. Is lower better, Robert? Because I think wasn't your air quality like 24 just yesterday or something like that? So is that better? Hopefully, but that's beautiful heaven weather. Both you and Tim are experiencing a little bit of heaven right now. Marmighty, forgive me, but this kind of directionless floating reminds me of my teenage years, leaving school, so much opportunity before me. With age, the opportunities are limited, but still there. It's a good point. It is kind of like that, although without the rank sense of potential, right? I mean, I remember being out of school and feeling like the world was my oyster. Well, not really. I didn't really anticipate the world that way, but I did feel like I would live forever and anything was possible. Evelyn says, I have neighbors like that too. As soon as they retired, they both each had a stroke. They never go out and have no interest. I refuse to go that route. It's exhausting trying to figure it all out. Isn't it though, Evelyn? Yeah, so I mean, I think they're everywhere. I ran into a guy the other day, another American, and he and I were talking, and he was commenting to me about how many houses like this you can almost pick them out by the unkempt nature of the foliage. That there's one of those people inside. It's especially common here in Japan, where Japan neither offers people alternatives in life very much, or gives them the tools or the motivation to explore it. It's very easy to fall into that hole. Sorry if I'm keeping my voice really low, folks. I think that my neighbor next door over might have their window open. I don't want my voice to float into their room. Marmite says, I'm 20 years away from retirement myself. When I think of my retired future, I think of travel or starting a market, stall of my own grown stuff, etc. Maybe a hobby is a dirty word. I'm hesitant to say anything negative about any of that. Marmite, I'm wishing you all the best with all of that. And I do want to point out that for everybody that I'm mentioning, for practically everyone that I can mention that is struggling with retirement, there seem to be as many or more that are doing just fine with it. I'm not one of them. I don't know what that says about me necessarily, or them, but there sure are a lot of them. A lot of people who write to me, and because remember I said before, I get lots of cards and letters from people telling me that they're struggling. I also get lots of cards and letters from people telling me, what's wrong with you, Kurt? I mean, why are you having such a hard time? It's great. I've been retired. I retired in 1996. Never looked back. It's been the best, what is it, like 30 years of my life. They're like 88 years old or something like that. And they've been having nothing but great time for the last 30 years doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm going, oh man, I wish. I just don't seem to be built that way for some reason. And I hope, Marmite, that you are. My own brother, he probably won't mind me saying this. He and I were just talking before I lifted up the camera. He's turning in his retirement paperwork tomorrow. And we were texting on DM, and I was commenting to him how I'm struggling now, especially that my damn business failed again, and I don't know what to do with myself. And it was hard for me not to, extend my cautions to my brother, because tomorrow is a good day for him, right? I mean, it's the day that he gets to formally submit his paperwork for it, and I don't want to be raining on that parade. But I'm worried about him because I know that he's built a lot like me, even though we're not built at all alike. And Aniket Thakur says hi to Robert, aka Believing Herself. Tim says, the thing I found going into retirement is to do it with a positive frame of mind, a new phase and beginning in life. I knew my past working life I did simply for money rather than for living to work. Thank you, Tim. You always give me wise words. I'm going to actually make a note to that effect. Positive frame of mind, because I plan to spend today working on a plan, and I'm going to imbue that with a positive frame of mind. Thank you, Tim. I think you're right. I think that's going to do a lot. Hello, Julie BBB. It's good to see you back. I do very well with having a general plan of improvement for the year and then a daily, weekly routine. That's good to hear, Julie. I like that. That's exactly what I want to do. You know what, maybe, Julie, maybe I'll go out and get one of those day-to-day calendar things, although every time I've ever tried to do that in life, it's just wound up, I get 3 pages in and it winds up in the drawer. So maybe I won't do that. But maybe I'm going to take a lesson from you, general plan. I'm going to make a note to that as well. Thank you. General plan, suggested from Julie, BBB, and then the frame of mind recommended by Tim. So I'm literally taking notes from you both. I really do appreciate that. General plan of improvement for the year. That's exactly what I was thinking about doing, Julie, was actually, today I'm going to lay out, sit down with a document. I may actually go I'm actually invite my wife to Kanohi Coffee, and maybe we can sit there together, and I can kind of lay out the plan, and we can sit there in the air-conditioned comfort. Robert says hi to Julie BBB. Claude Montez, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. The good book to live by. Thank you for sharing that perspective, Claude. Believe in Yourself says hi to Claude. Julie BBB says, I also have a daily practice of dismissing negative events and doing things that put me in a positive state of mind. What an interesting thing. I love your I love your active engagement in the day, Julie BBB, rather than just letting the day ride upon you. You are riding upon the day, are you not? I love it. I love it. Nothing too fancy, just knowing myself. I love it. This is great stuff, Julie. Robert says, hi, the lower the AQI, the better. So, thank you, Robert. Now I understand. So today's air quality is much better than it was in the last couple. I guess, is that because have they put out the fires that were burning in Western Canada? Claude says, El Paso, Texas, 32 degrees and 1 C, and a low of 24. Humidity is low. 32 C. That's cold. 32 C. That's C, not F. Let's see. That's hot. Yeah. Yesterday it touched 40 yesterday. Oh my gosh, here it was really hot. Tim says, there's a couple of retirement Facebook groups I go on, and their struggle in retirement is a big thing for a lot of people. To be honest, I did find it quite an eye-opener. Tim, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that there were retirement groups. Maybe I'll check into some of those. I'm not really a joiner, but maybe it might just kind of be a lurker. Tim, have you found, I don't know how active you are on YouTube, but there's a lot of people that are making vlogs, kind of like, what I do, but they're talking about their own retirement experience. And some of them come from really interesting backgrounds because they weigh in from their various perspectives, financial planners talking about the financial side, teachers talking about, the perspective that their teaching lives brought to it. Spouses who have lost their partner, talking about what that's like. It's really interesting. Claude says, retired at 62, walked the 88 temples in Shikoku twice, 1,200 kilometers each. Never a dull day. I am learning Japanese. See, that's what I was referring to, Claude. So, I think, who was it I was referring to earlier? Was it someone who's about 20 years away? That's Marmite. See, Marmite, Claude's one of the ones that I was referring to before. Seems to have entered retirement and just found their way, really nicely, found ways to keep themselves living well, engaged well, enjoying life. You're a role model for us, Claude. And an artist too. Wow. Tim says, that's what I do too, Julie. I tend to plan the next day the night before, so I start the next day with a plan of action. Oh, okay. Well, now I kind of do the same thing too, but maybe I'm not as detailed as I should be because I have my outline here that I say, this is what the day was yesterday. This is what I hope the day to be. Maybe this is my call to action to make that a little more stronger and follow through. That's something else I need to do because not being employed, I have the liberty to maybe hold myself to it, right? Like just like I would at work. If I gave myself a task list to do at work, you can count on me unless there was a good mitigating reason to not do it. One that I could go to my boss and say, listen, I know I said I was going to do this afternoon. I didn't do it, but here's the good reason why. I really should hold myself to that same account. Maybe I'll start doing that the night before, kind of like what you both do, Julie and Tim. Thank you. Renaissance says to Claude Montez, planning to do the same when my retirement comes. Okay, maybe it was Renaissance who said they had 20 years to go. Marmite says, in your book you mentioned the great indifference. Is that what you're facing? Just a new flavor of it in retirement? Does retirement strip people of their working life, aka purpose? I think all of that is true, yeah. And yeah, I'd say that I'm facing down the great indifference. But the part of the thing is that, and again, Evelyn, if you're watching, she'll probably smile or maybe laugh to hear me say this. I think I had enough looking at the great indifference. It's like nasal gazing after a while. It's like, okay, so the universe is empty, right? So, to use stronger language, there is no God. Okay, So now what? Am I going to gaze a little longer at the void and contemplate that fact, or should I take up fishing, right? And thank you for your Marty, thank you for your weighing in from a perspective from my book as well. It's always appreciated to hear someone speaking who's read the book and maybe understands the perspective from which I base my life. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Robert says hi to Renaissance. Claude Monet says turning 68, looking forward to another 1,200-kilometer pilgrimage and be fluent in Japanese. You go. That's great. I guess you're living here in Japan then, clearly, Claude, right? Renaissance says, try to apply the same idea to this Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage, even though I'm an existentialist. I feel that there might be something special about walking for such a long time in nature. That's funny that you say that, because one of the things I think that I'm going to really do is just I'm going to check out, require of myself to leave the house for some hours every day and just go out into the community. As it cools down, that could be just walking. I'm exploring buying a bicycle, not an e-bike, but a regular bicycle, and using the car. Julie says, yes, finding purpose is very difficult. Thank you for sharing that perspective, Julie. I agree wholeheartedly. Marmighty says, take up fishing. That's what I was thinking about doing. I was really thinking about it. I was even looking at fishing videos yesterday, but my wife, I was talking to her about it last night. She's like, no. And I think she's right. She's like, fishing probably isn't for you, Kurt. But that doesn't say that there isn't something else that might be worthwhile if I can give up navel gazing. Renaissance says hi to Robert. Tim says, the good thing I have found in retirement is learning to not be too hard on yourself. It doesn't matter. Kind of, you have all the time in the world, no rushing anything in your own time. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? I keep mentioning that to other people as well. It's like, retirement might be hard, but it's not stressful, right? I mean, it's like, but it's dangerous, right? I mean, because if you can't find your way through, then there's a danger you wind up like my neighbors, right? Or my father-in-law. And, I don't want to go down that route. So it's scary, but it's not stressful. Claude says, living in El Paso, Texas since 1991. Oh, okay, so I guess you just come to Japan and do the pilgrimage. I see. Renaissance says, fantastic, Kurt, thank you. Robert says, Kurt, I think fishing like playing the slot machines just as slow motion. Robert, I think you're right. Although, to give a little more credit to the fishermen, I mean, they're out in nature, right? And not to disparage people who like slot machines, it's like, but at least they're out in nature and they kind of get some exercise and stuff like that. But I do too. I have about as much interest in fishing as I do in pachinko, right? Which is to say, none. And Yumiko picked up on that yesterday. She's like, Kurt, you're right. Yeah, we were literally walking in the evening. I was like, you know that you can fish for free? You don't need a fishing license if you fish in the ocean in Japan, and maybe I'll give it a try. And she looked at me. She was like, seriously, you fishing? I was like, in Renaissance says, interesting concept, Robert. I like it. I like it too. I like that too. Robert says, the most challenging thing in retirement. Now, Robert, just so folks know, and I think Robert's okay with me saying this, Robert's been retired for quite a while. He said, and the most challenging thing in retirement was to transition to wanting to work again. In this case, for myself. Interesting that you say that. Now, I didn't find that transition so hard because I was desperate, so I chose to start up my business. But I can definitely see how it's a little embarrassing for me, to tell people. I posted that video clip of me at a job interview, and it's a little bit embarrassing. Okay, you're retired, Kurt. What the hell are you doing taking a job interview, right? But desperate guys do desperate stuff. Robert says, true, Kurt. Skill is certainly involved in fishing. I do take care a few times I've played. I do take care that a few times I played slots to check out the flow of traffic in the casino, and I have a favorite machine. Evelyn says, I agree with you, Nico. Okay, I got two votes from people that know me that fishing is probably not the way to go. So if I wind up buying the fishing gear, it's just going to wind up cluttered in the closet, right? Robert says, casinos do frown upon casing out the joint. My stepsister's husband has designed many and is not welcome to play there as he designed the flow. Ooh. Maybe, Julie says, maybe you need to change your concept of what is work. Problem with, that seems to warrant some exploration, maybe. Just what that means. Change my perception of what is, concept of what is work. Well, okay, well, just to lay it out so you know what my concept is. Work was the thing that I do to pay the bills. I also call that my vocation, as opposed to my avocation. My avocation was going into the wilderness in pursuit of the in pursuit of the discovery of the existence of God. That was my avocation. My work was the being an IT project manager. So both my work and my avocation are largely done, which leaves me with what the hell to do with the rest of my time. Tim says, problem with fishing is you're in one place for a long time, might need to take a good book. Yeah, you're right. Although, even though I purport to be a reader, I don't read and sit down. Typically, I read and walk. A book recommendation, The Sea by John Banville. Oh, okay. All right, everybody, well, I've reached the bottom, and it's probably about time for me to head over to do radio exercise. I skipped it yesterday because I skipped it for a good reason. I didn't do radio exercise yesterday because I had my surgery pre-operative exam for my cataract on my left eye, and I didn't want to go to the doctor's office with the doctor, real close to me, having sweated through the morning and stinking, even though I took a shower before I went. So I didn't go to radio exercise, so because by then the sun will be fully up and burning, so I skipped it. So now I know there's consequences. I'm going to show up this morning, and the neighborhood's going to be hurt. Their feelings. It's Japanese are like that. They're like even once they start like a routine, like you come in and do morning exercise. If you break that at all, like you don't show up for a day, you come the next day and everybody's like, "Oh, what happened? Where were you?" They don't actually say that, but they kind of, you can see it in their face, and they'll kind of give you these sideways looks, like, "Do you not like us anymore?" You hurt their feelings. So even my wife can pick it up on it because because I told her I didn't, and I knew she knew. I said I didn't go to morning exercise this morning. She's like, oh, really? What is it? What's up? It's why aren't you abiding the Japanese way, right? Claude says, I hope you don't mind me just calling you Claude. I used to fish and never could eat the very few fish I caught. Felt sorry for them, but being out in nature was the benefit of living close to nature. That's what happened to me. I used to be a spear fisherman. I'd go out and spear dive, snorkel and spear dive in the ocean in the Pacific. And I gave up one day because I was like, I'm tired of killing fish. Even though I did eat them, I was like, I don't want to be involved in this anymore. And part of me about the fishing thing too is like, I don't want to put a friggin' hook in some animal's mouth. I'm a guy that, I'm not a vegetarian or anything like that, but you know what I mean? It's like, if I can just walk, maybe that's good enough. Robert says, thank you, Kurt. Bye all. All right, thank you, Robert. Yeah, making overtures that I'm leaving. Bye and great day and night, everyone. Thank you, Renaissance. Marmite, you have a good problem, but a problem nonetheless. You put it very well. It is a good problem, but right, Tim? Right, Evelyn? Right, Robert? It is a problem. It is a good problem. It's a good problem to have, but a problem nonetheless, right? Good luck out there. Thank you. Reading the room matters much in Japan. Sure does. Very much so. You know them well. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.